Okay. Okay, we're back, y'all. We're back. We're back. We are back. I am class free. I am mess free. I'm F free. And we're about to do this. So let me resend out these links to all the social media. Oh, trying to run a show by yourself. I do all the graphics, I do all the booking, I do all the ID, I do everything. And this is a lot. Like, I don't think y'all understand. This is a lot. Okay. So, thank y'all for bearing with me in this trying time. And we are going to get started in just a minute. If you are here rocking with me, please say something in the chat. I love to see what you guys got going on. Um, oh, let me mute our guest since he wants to be so loud. um, so we are going to get started in just a minute after I send out all of this information. But this is going to be a great show. We have Ryan Ray joining us. We are going to be discussing really all of the local news that's happening right now. I look to Ryan as someone that knows a lot about politics, about Florida politics, about local politics. He's into a lot of different things, but he'll go ahead and introduce himself later. But having him on was honestly an amazing get, and I look forward to our conversation. Like I said, we're gonna be talking about like the gun violence review board. We're going to be talking about now that the election is over, where do we go from here? What are we doing right now? And so, like, what do we look forward to? What do we have to look forward to? What can we do to hold our, let me move this way. What can we do to hold our elected officials accountable? And, again, where do we go from here? So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on after I fix up a couple of things. Again, being your own tech person, doing all this stuff, girl, it is a lot. It is so much, but we are in there. So without further ado, let me welcome on Ryan Ray. Okay, Ryan, what's up, bro? Hey, what I was just telling everybody how you are just like the genius of, I guess, like Florida politics and local Tallahassee politics. So no pressure. Yeah, thanks. So, like I was telling everyone, like I'm trying to send out one more time the link since, again, I told everybody like before, please, I do all of this on my own. Thank you. If you're gonna be a part of my like community here and listen to the show, you have to be okay with a little bit of raggedy. Um, you have to give me a little bit of grace. I try my best. It's this funny little like meme thing where it's literally like this mouse and he's like, I'm trying my best. I am doing give me a break. That's me every day. hmm Yeah. Yeah, no. That means a lot to me. Thank you. So, like I said, I was telling everyone that we are today is going to be an interesting show. I think it's going to be interesting. We are talking a lot about, everybody knows that the midterm elections are over. And I think we're like in a different space right now where we are, hoping that we can now hold our elected officials accountable. We now have a Republican state senator, Corey Simon. We have, I guess the same city commissioners that we had before. We have one new county commissioner, and David O'Keefe, and we just want to make sure that we are again paying attention, knowing what they're doing, Like, what's the plan now? you know, and so I think how I wanted to start this story off or this show off was about the recent gun violence task force. And let me see if I can show everybody what I. My dog just broke it in my room. I'm sorry. Um, let me show everybody like the I guess the article from WCTV that I saw discussing this issue. But I guess when we get into that, I'll pause for a moment as I pull that up and just let you, introduce yourself, say whatever you want to say, tell everyone how cool you are, and we'll go from there. Oh, go ahead. You can start now. Nice. Thank you. Again, everyone, I think he's being slightly humble. I think Ryan, I think he knows a lot. I think I try to learn as much as I can from him. So it's really awesome to have you on. And I think this first topic, I just pulled it all across the screen here. So in Tallahassee, this was right before Thanksgiving. There was a new task force. This was created, I guess, after the city commission decided to invest $1 million a year into gun violence. Am I correct? Yes. So yeah. So there was a community meeting. It looks like, and the folks are giving their ideas on how to combat gun violence. Um, and as I was reading through this, I thought it was nice that they had a lot of different quotes in this article. There was, one about, or one from, a community member, Thaddeus Bruce. There was one from a pastor, R.B. Holmes. Some quotes from the police chief. So, I guess it was right on for them to, have these sort of people on here. But I wanted to focus on the, I guess, like, you know, now that we have these city commissioners here, this is who we are working with. And they held this task force meeting. You know, maybe you could give some insight on like a brief overview about like what happened, and then I'll go over like the list of like action items that they came out of here with. But maybe if there's a little bit of background or some other information that you might want to share on, what was discussed here.
Trends in our social and political life that are contributing heavily to that. More proximally here locally, there have been efforts to curb it going back a number of years, but the recent iteration of that involved $1 million annual pledge, so recurring $5 million over 5 years by city commission to address those things. What's going to be done with that kind of remains to be seen, but it looks like a lot of at-risk youth violence prevention sort of oriented programming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's too early to appraise those efforts. They haven't happened yet, and we'll see what happens there. I know that the Pastor Holmes and a few elected officials had a confab, I think, um, with the police chief about it. I can't super well evaluate how that has gone. I seems like some conversations and talking to me. I remember that Reverend Holmes suggested a limit on mass gatherings. I think that there's been pushback to that. I'm not sure that gets to the heart of the reasons why we have these problems so stubbornly. But I know that poverty and inequality correlates very, very strongly with violent crime in community and community, country after country, state by state. And I know that our local government can allocate resources to addressing those things. People resort to crime and violence when they are desperate and they don't see their prospects um, as being viable. They give up, and that's kind of what sends people into those zones. This is my personal view here, and that addressing the underlying conditions and sort of our social ills is the best way that we can address that. Of course, in the short term, we need to do everything we can to um, disrupt folks, and the widespread availability of guns that people are leaving in their car unlocked, and the sort of fetish that this country seems to have had with unfettered access to guns everywhere, I think, are big parts of the problem. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that speaks exactly to the question, but those are my thoughts about it broadly.
Oh no, yeah, I think that was definitely right on the head of just like giving a brief overview of just like how did we get here, why this is even happening. Again, I agree with you with I was reading through some of the action items and I thought they were kind of odd. Again, like you said, I guess it doesn't speak to the actual reason, or the actual like problem. I've always been like the type of person that's like, again, being black, growing up with black people, being going to school with, I guess they at risk kids. It's just like the common theme I see or that I've experienced is just people are have gone through things. People, feel like they feel like they're not being heard about like what their issues are, what they feel like their issues are, and a lot of other different themes or issues that stem from that sort of like loneliness, about having to live through this life alone or live through this life as I guess like how it is, um and
Loneliness itself is a huge social problem, by the way.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
Oh
just
yeah. Outside of even, about I mean, I think suburbia is probably like the loneliest like area in a city. Um that I think a lot of people don't talk about is about growing up in suburbia and what that's like. But all of this is again, like I think loneliness is the problem in that people feel, angry. Maybe they feel shame. Maybe they feel again like the only way that they can get some sort of community help is through gang activity, or feel like a part of something is through gang activity, or the only way that they feel like they can get rid of some of this frustration or energy is through, I guess, crime. And so I'm just gonna read off some of the action items, and I don't know if we want to go like one by one through all of these, but um this is what they came up with. I think number three is like the funniest one to me. But number one, we are scheduling citywide prayer services in at-risk neighborhood where violent crime activities have taken place. I mean, that I guess cool.
communion of people. One of the things I've always noticed in my life is that real people talking to each other in organic situations is probably the most powerful force that exists.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, I guess that can be useful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. It's not exactly addressing anything directly.
Um. Yeah. I mean, I've grown up in the church, and it's like, you know, the common phrase is, you know, like prayer changes things, and I think it kind of does. And I think, like, from the perspective of someone who is probably, again, living through this like violent, they described violent neighborhoods where violent crime activities take place. I, Having that, I don't know if these are like numbered in any type of like priority fashion, um but it's like, you know, throwing, I guess, like God at the situation when, you know, maybe these people don't even go to church. It's like, you know, that I think that's a heavy step, or like trying to take a heavy step in that.
I hear that.
Yeah. Number two, support creative crime prevention programs for funding. I think that's pretty broad. Um, I don't know what they really mean by that. I guess I don't know if there've already been like programs. Maybe you can speak to this, of like other ways that the city have has already tried to, you know, have crime prevention programs. Do you think?
I'm not an expert in this kind of stuff.
Okay,
I
okay.
know that there are restorative justice programs that I think are pretty proven to like prevent recidivism and people that are like at-risk youth that commit like sort of crimes. I know
Mm-hmm.
that the city has a program that is aimed directly at people that are disconnected, like kids that are dropouts, or that kids that leave the school system, and young men who are kind of unattached and don't have much to be hopeful about, to reach out and intervene with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the efficacy of them, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think that it can't hurt. I know that people, there's a severe lack of resources out there, and if we're able to effectively drive some to the people that need interventions, then that can probably be a good thing. But obviously, as you're alluding to, the devil is in the details, and it's all about what you do there and filling in those blanks.
Mm-hmm. Is I feel like a lot of times when they say like, oh, like crime prevention programs, it sort of sounds like like a dare program type. and and I feel like, you know, like I didn't think dare really helped kids not do drugs. So it's just like, you know, having these sort of like, I guess, basic programs like that, I don't feel like works if that's what they're kind of do, like just to say that they're trying to do something. Maybe if it, again, like you said, if it was something where it's like, you know, again, we are talk meeting these people where they are, talking to them. I mean, and I hate saying like these people, but it's like these are our neighbors, like these are our community members, and we should be treating them, you know, just the same. And it's like just
Of
talking to
course.
them normal, and, you know, figuring out what's, you know, what they need, what community services do we have that we can provide for them. Because again, I think crime stems from poverty, and you know, making sure that we are, again, treating their basic needs for living,
Hmm.
trying to help them find a way to just survive, and uh, you know, I think that would solve a lot of problems. But I,
Yeah, I think that everyone's played with the variables of stiffer penalties, more enforcement, all those kinds of things. That's gone up and down in a lot of localities. In my experience, what I've seen works the best is when you have less wealth inequality and you
mm-hmm,
have a sort of better social safety net to handle things like that. To me, you know, that's what really addressing the problem directly looks like.
exactly. And number three, my favorite one, no, and I don't think really in that way, but develop a respect yourself military style boot camp targeting at risk youth for alternative sentencing.
What do you think about that?
I don't know if sending kids to a military boot camp is like, I think what I don't think that would actually work in the sense that, you know, just throw like it just sounds like jail to me. Um just a different kind of jail.
Hmm.
And so it's just like, they're going to be feeling those same types of like isolation. And again, I don't think anybody who's been to the military, I have family members that's been to the military, they never say great things about boot camp. So it's like, I don't know if doing that to, they're saying youth, so I'm assuming again anyone 18 and under. Probably this thing will be for people, well, maybe in middle school, maybe even elementary school age. Um, I don't really see that actually aiding in their development much,
Hmm.
especially if they're probably like missing school already for this. Um, but yeah, those are just my thoughts.
I hear that. I will say this for it. It's something different.
It is something different. I mean, it's also just like, why, okay, if this is supposed to be, and again, like an alternate to, again, jail, um it, I guess the devil is in the details of like, where this would be, how this would work. Are I mean, I'm assuming they're not able to go back home or anything, so it's just like, how will this be alternative to jail? And like, what details are they going to make it, or how they going to, um I guess, build the program to make it where it's not jail. But I kind of don't see that right now. And
Yeah, I
again,
think we
just
saw. I don't know if you saw a news story recently. I think a Florida sheriff gave a talk about school discipline in front of a prison. I think a county prison, and said that kids in school should be afraid to get their asses torn off or something like
oh
that.
gosh.
I think he was proposing corporal punishment, bringing that back. I'm not sure that more violence is the answer. So I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that definitely does
I,
sound
I, I,
like what
the
this
jury's out.
is.
I'm not convinced.
No, that definitely sounds like what this is. It's like just an opportunity to just like use corporal punishment on students, on younger people. Um, I would also, I mean, again, also in terms of like alternative sentencing, more broadly, I know I've read from like the Marshall Project and other like civil, or not civil, but criminal justice reform like organizations, how they always say that like the people who they claim that they're trying to target aren't even the ones who have an opportunity to get into these alternative programs. They just still sending them to
Mm,
jail.
mm.
Um, and so yeah, it's just, again, it just sounds like something that they just want to say like, oh, we tried, or we're doing something. But again, it's not I think at the end, when we evaluated in a year or so, it's like, did it really target the group that you claim that it was going to target anyway? And
Mhm.
it's probably not even, helping the situation much anyways.
I think that we have a fairer and more just society where people have faith in public institutions
Hmm.
and people have optimism about their own personal prospects for their lives, their health, their prosperity.
Hmm.
Um, I guarantee you, crime will diminish.
Right. So next one, encourage and develop encourage the development. Wow, I can't read. Encourage the development of police athletic clubs in public housing
Mhm.
where crime is high and there is limited quality recreational tutoring and mentorship programs. Police athletic clubs. I don't know what that
Mhm.
means. I didn't know.
Mm.
Did you have an idea of what that means? Or have
So I actually, it's funny. My dad, growing up, he's retired. He was a sheriff. He's a bailiff at the county courthouse. He's a sheriff's deputy. Growing up, maybe surprising, maybe not to some people who know me well. We actually did. I remember a lot of my sort of family vacations, but my vacations with my pops, growing up would be police athletic league stuff. See, they have sports leagues and recreational stuff where they play everything under this, tennis. He's a tennis player, horseshoes, like, track, basketball, everything,
Mm-hmm.
and those are cool. I mean, I actually did
That
grow up
sounds good.
experience. I actually did grow up experiencing like a sort of like camaraderie and community around that. Now, that was something that's a part of that uh, people that are in that life and have family in law enforcement and stuff like that. I'm not sure how to apply it to this stuff. I'm not sure how that would work. How incorporating people that were offenders into that would work. I would like to talk about it later when we talk about DEC stuff. I do know that centers where people can commune together
Mm-hmm.
are really important. And we can talk more about that. But historically, there have been sites like union halls in
Mm-hmm.
places that are important to get people together. So again, sort of in an ancillary way, I can kind of see how there's something that can be useful there. But I'm skeptical too. What do you think?
Well, I actually thought that was might have been like one of the better ones on this
Mm-hmm.
list. Um just but okay. And this is why I say it is like, you know, we're and I hate to like bring up this stuff cuz we did just have like the citizen review board meeting today and they was talking about a lot of about I guess like this phrase, but like since defund the police is like, we're not doing that, of course. I mean, there's nobody even running on that anyway. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so, talking more about community policing and this sounds like I guess like a good like community policing like activity.
Mm-hmm.
Um Again, it's putting still I guess like having police presence for people who want more police presence, but also like not having it be like their presence is only we're here to like supervise you and arrest you and like take away your freedoms and stuff like that. So, again, like having this sort of thing where maybe they're looked, the police can have an opportunity to build community trust and again having a mentorship program. I think mentorship is a very good thing. I think
Me
that's what
too.
a lot of kids need. That's what I wish I had more of growing up.
Word.
Still
Me
now,
too.
still now as he like a young adult, like I think
Mm-hmm.
mentorship is something that is like invaluable to everyone's like personal and professional growth. And so like allowing, having that I think is fantastic. And everybody loves, trying to see if they could break up cops' ankles in basketball or something. So I think it's kind of cool. I,
Yeah,
I would be
same.
interested to see that.
Me too. I'm hopeful about that one. We'll see.
Yeah. So the next one we have expand the city's highly successful Tempo program to include more at-risk youth and collaborate with Goodwill Industries for summer employment for at-risk youth. I actually have a friend that went through the Tempo program. And he said that he really liked it. I wonder like your perspective of maybe are you were you involved at all with like Tempo stuff or like how that.
Certainly it's come before the commission. So in a sort of policy development way, yeah, I've seen it. It's certainly much touted, much promoted by the city, and I tend to think that they probably do good work there. Again, I'm not in a position to evaluate
Yeah,
it
yeah,
in a
yeah.
sort of as a systematic way, but seems nice. It seems good. I mean,
Again, it
more
doesn't
of
hurt.
something good is usually good.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts. I definitely think more funding into that would definitely be helpful. And I remember being in what was that like ninth grade, not quite the age to like have like a job at 16, like a 16-year-old job, and I don't know if this is still a program with the city. But I did a program where they gave me a job at the airport.
Oh
And I
wow,
thought that was the coolest thing. Like
Tallahassee International.
yes, our international airport, where we have to fly to Atlanta to actually be international. Um,
Mhm.
but I thought that was the coolest thing, and to this day, I always tell folks like I used to work at the airport, like. And
That's cool.
I actually got an opportunity to try to like learn how like get a pilot's license, but I never did the program because at the time I was scared of planes. Um,
Mhm.
but if they
Mhm.
still have that, that would honestly be awesome. I don't remember what the name of it was, but it was just like a summer like internship program. I was able to
Mhm.
earn a little bit of money, and again, it was cool to be at the airport.
That was it's funny. Commissioner Matlow's first his first job ever, I think of any kind, was actually as a lifeguard or like a camp recreation aide, I think it's called, as like a camp counselor person,
Mm-hmm.
young junior staffer at the Smith Williams Center. Or I'm
Hey.
sorry, at the day on Dade Street, at the Dade Street Center rather, in Tallahassee, like
Mm-hmm.
a couple decades ago, and he got a really good impression of the city from it, and it seems like a dope job, and it seems like a great thing. I'm glad that you got to have that experience.
Yeah, and like my first like I guess like real job was at Truesdale Gymnastics Center.
Hey,
And again, I thought that was a really cool job. Like the you know at the time minimum wage was terrible, but but it was still really cool to like work. You know, I
we're
guess
working on it.
yeah, better to like do that. I felt than like having to work at like a McDonald's or something. Like I despise wanting like need like wanting to like personally. I just didn't want to work in fast food.
Uh-huh.
And I got the opportunity to work at Truesdale, and I worked there all throughout high school, and it was amazing. I was able to do like birthday parties on the weekends. You know, of course, love helping the little kitties, and earning a little bit of money. And when I got that first paycheck, my mom still has this video. Well, I got that first paycheck. It was like they really took all of my money in taxes, but it's cool. But yeah, so I think summer employment is very good, and of course, like people, you know, I've always said this too. Like people are selling drugs because they want to earn money. Like I don't know why we try to treat it like it's some, you know, I don't know. Like people try to treat it like it's like they just want to be mischievous, but it's like they're selling drugs to make money. So we have to make non like gang life cool again, you know, for them. It's like, you know, I can make money like not I can make money and be, you know, do what I do with drug money with legal money. So yeah, I think that's good. But I just went on a long tangent. All right, so we just got a couple more. So develop, if need, ordinances that will prevent and prohibit violence, i.e., shootings and mass gatherings. Now,
Hmm.
I guess this goes into your mass gathering thing. But before that, what ordinance could we pass to, like, I guess, prohibit shootings? Like, shoot, I guess the action of shootings.
Yeah, I think that's prohibited. I think violence is already prohibited.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, isn't firing a gun already like against the law? So
Yeah,
I'm sort of
firing a gun at
confused
mass
about that.
gatherings. Yeah, it's illegal to shoot someone at a mass gathering already, so that's a bit that's quizzical, but interesting.
I
Hey, look, I don't mean to make light of it. I mean, it's clearly a lot of people aren't getting them. I mean, it's a frustrating thing when you are making rules, and people that you're talking about are not law-abiding people, obviously. So,
mm-hmm.
it's a conundrum.
Yeah, I don't think the mass gathering thing is. I honestly don't think this is something that would actually be actionable or could be actionable at all.
I do
Um,
have my own questions and skepticisms about enforcement, and I know what we don't want is to make a two-tier society where if you're going
exactly.
to a big football tailgate, then mass gatherings are fine. But if you're the wrong kind of person and you're in the wrong part of town, then all of a sudden the law is being applied to you unequally. So I very much share that concern about that part.
And I think when I first read this, I immediately thought about like we call it the let out. I don't know if you call it the let out,
Oh yeah,
but
the let out,
yeah,
absolutely.
like it's like
1:55, a.m.
yeah, yeah, it's like I think I've always like okay, so you know, growing up here, you know, it was always like fun but also a little risky to be at a let out for of course all the obvious reasons. But it was like going down to Orlando, I was like, wow, like where are the block parties like we used to have in Tallahassee? Like, well, like where are these things? And all they got in Orlando is like downtown Orlando. To me, it felt like was like all they had was like downtown Orlando, and I
Mhm.
mean they still shot there, so it's like I don't think like banning the gathering is gonna really help.
How we build our cities and where we encourage density and where we encourage gathering itself is a pretty heavy big problem. And yeah, when you create you create neighborhoods and areas that are underinvested in,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you get concentrated poverty and violence, and that's really a shame. I wish that our local governments' values reflected investing in those neighborhoods, perhaps a little bit more. But yeah, I'm very much on the same page with you on that.
And I also think it's like people always say this, like, when I think like a lot of folks my age always feel like this is like there's not really much for I think my sort of like age group to do. It's like I think like the 21 to like 30 age group ish, they're like we're too old to like go to Bajas or something. We
Ever.
like I feel like we're like no, not like too old, but you know what I mean. Like
Oh, no,
the
I'm just
18-year-olds
yeah.
are at
I don't go to
Bajas.
Baja.
Yeah, like the
Mm-hmm.
18-year-olds are there at Bajas. Like we don't want to go
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like college town, that's for let's just say white people. And it's like, you know, we used to have prime time. That doesn't exist anymore.
I didn't
Um,
know. I'm so dumb. I didn't know prime time was gone.
you didn't know prime time was gone, Ryan.
I know. I'm telling you. Gosh, I've got a lot to learn.
No, but like they took like if you can go to prime time, where else can you go? And like for real, like
What's good with the flight nowadays?
okay, flight is literally the size of my bedroom.
It
So
is.
it's like how it's crowded. Although
Yeah.
fun, although a very great time. I highly encourage everyone to take a couple of trips to the flight. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't think everybody could actually go to the flight and, be comfortable in there. And when you got a bunch of people packed on top of each other, people are going to push and shove and then they're going to start fighting.
I hear you.
Um, so the next one, work with at risk families to provide jobs if needed, affordable housing, job training, and mentorship programs. This is something that we should be already be doing.
I couldn't agree with that more.
And I don't think $1 million is going to be enough to to solve that problem.
No, I doubt that. No, we've got to consistently commit ourselves to not blowing our precious taxpayer money on giveaways for the wealthy, like the $27 million Doug Campbell Stadium blueprint deal, for instance. That was marked for um,
You done pissed off the
investment.
entire you done pissed off everyone that is watching the show right now, Ryan. I don't
Hmm.
know why you
They
gave
all
them
know
that
in their hearts that
PTSD of this very divisive issue, Ryan.
I think everybody knows that that's true, and I think that's disheartening to people. And again, to the point, it's just opportunity cost of what we could have done otherwise with that too,
Mm-hmm.
and improve the conditions and kind of make really transforms people's lives with business loans and that kind of things. But hey, um, yeah,
Here we
but I
are.
do think that I think that if people see a commitment to helping people, then that kind of takes away from some of the desperation that that we see. Um, People feel really hopeless in a
Yeah.
lot of segments of our society, and I think they've really kind of given up on the government being a factor that can help. They're being squeezed by market forces. They're
Mm-hmm.
seeing government forces not acting in accordance with their interests too. So,
I
you
am
know,
so glad we started with this because we are definitely going to dive more into those topics when we talk about the DEC and just like the Democratic Party in general.
yeah,
Like that is I think the foundational issue with the Democratic Party is that we fail to have good answers for like what you just said. Um and
you mind if I grab a computer charger?
oh yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Is that possible? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, this is a stream again. Everybody, this is permission for all of us to be raggedy here. Okay, like I need
I'll
to
be
say
back.
this every show because it's always something. Like last show with Crowley and Shelby and Nicole, like I had some technical issues at the beginning and had to reschedule. Like y'all, this is what we have to do. Um so please bear with us. But
Thank you.
you know, I think like this is again a very good baseline for the second half of this show, and talking about
Yeah.
like, okay, how are we holding our elected officials accountable? This is what the city is investing money in right now. They're investing money in, maybe some of these ideas here. And this is going to happen for the next 5 years. They've already earmarked this money, and I think it's really important that we talk about it. And there's more community. Uh-oh. Hello.
Died. I'm literally plugging it in right now. So
You're good.
I'm so sorry. I was too raggedy. I'm so sorry. I had it plugged in. I don't know what happened.
You're good. You're good. When you log back in, you'll hop back. You'll hop right back on. Um, but I was going on and on in a little monologue, anyways, about the fact that we need, like, our government is investing in these programs right now,
Yeah.
or are thinking about investing in these ideas. I don't know if all of these things on this list will be, again, actionable or something that they actually do, but the fact that they are having this conversation, and this is this is our tax dollars, and so this is definitely something that we should be focused on and talking about and engaging in, because this is what they think that we need as citizens to lower crime, to help people, to et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense to me. I am so sorry, Serenity. I am waiting for my waiting for this. I am so sorry. That was
You
too
are
raggedy.
all
That was too
good.
raggedy. I fucked up. Okay. Maybe I'm just gonna try to run it on my phone because I'm like waiting for my computer to like charge and come back on. I'm like gonna literally pull it up on my accept invite.
We're
I'm
just
gonna
seeing
jump on my.
your nice face in a frozen space right now.
Okay.
You
Okay.
are stuck in time, like,
Oh my gosh.
Michael Jackson. You know,
Oh wow.
you're like slightly lean. We see the hair over the eye. We got the beard
Oh
going on.
oh god. I've always seen myself that way, so this is perfect.
Good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm a fucking wreck. Oh my god, why? My computer's not coming back on,
No,
motherfucker.
I was in a job interview one time,
Uh-huh.
and my computer literally decided to die in the job interview as it was already plugged in.
Oh my god, are you serious?
And and I was like, these people hate me. It's all over. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're gonna think I'm irresponsible. They're gonna think this, that, and the third. But
Mm-hmm.
saved it. It was all good. I actually got the
Mm-hmm.
job offer, but I ended up turning it down for something else. But
Oh hell yeah.
but it's okay. Y'all, this is a technology era, and we just have to work with what we got. And the fact that I can easily just keep talking, whether it's to myself or not, it works
Mm-hmm.
out. Like, it works when you're slightly a little crazy.
Yeah, you've got to have that.
Yes.
You've got to have that.
I
Can
guess
we?
I'll
Can
talk
we?
about like what I did today
Can we
and
just
why.
talk? Can I talk like this, or do I? Or no?
Um, I mean, I guess I could hold you over the microphone, or
Can we try that? Because my computer's just not. I'm so sorry. Can we? Is that viable, or is that possible, or no?
um, I mean, I think so. I
Okay.
think it should be good.
If we can, let
The
me know.
levels, the sound levels still look good.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we could do this temporarily. And just let me know. Well, I guess like I'll see if you log back in already
Yeah,
on the
no,
thing.
it's like my computer's charging. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's like charging back up. I don't know what else to do.
You're good.
But I
You're
can
good.
keep talking with you. That's for sure.
Oh, I mean, I was just gonna say, look, we can pause on this conversation real quick. I was gonna say that like today was a wild day. Um, like I told you, I had like class right before this,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting up on finals time, so the professor had to tell us like what our final was gonna look like, and the details. But we also, like, she used today as like a extra credit thing where you showed up to class, you get like extra credit.
Oh
Um,
hell yeah! Good for
and
you. Good
yeah,
for you. Scooping up. You gotta get the low hanging fruit.
yes, like it's so easy. Like she had another like I wouldn't even call this extra credit because she literally had us write an entire research paper and we could only get up to 4 points.
Oh my
And
gosh.
those 4 points was only worth one question on the midterm. So it's like you missed one question, it's like cool. You missed anything else, it's like you're out of luck. um, but this is like a for like an HR class, which is honestly interesting. But this today's lecture was about like talking about race in the workplace and creating like diversity trainings, and all of that stuff. So people were like giving their thoughts. We had a project a couple weeks ago on doing this. So everyone, gave their thoughts on their projects and what they thought they could do better after reading more about, you know, the modules that we had to read about. So yeah, it was a pretty cool discussion. Um, and I'm glad that we were able to like talk freely about this because now I guess it's not applicable to higher education, but they're trying to stop people from being woke. So it was really cool that our professor again like allowed us to talk so freely about this. So shout out to her. Shout out to me.
Yeah,
Shout out to.
major.
Mm-hmm.
Call her out. What's her? Is
Oh,
Professor?
Portia Campos, y'all, at Florida State University. Dr. Portia
Hey,
Campos. Y'all better get on her. Y'all better come get one of these.
big ups to Dr. Campos.
And but right before class or in the middle of me trying to like do class at the beginning, had to cook dinner. I went to the gym today. I'm acting like a gym nut now. I'm trying to become a gym girly. I'm trying to get fine because my 25th birthday is coming up January 27th. So I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds so I can be cute on my 25th. And I was literally in there for like 2 hours. And the guy was like, "Wow, you've been here a long time." And I said, "I'm trying to get in that work, baby." Like,
God bless you.
do you go to the gym, right?
I
I'm
did,
sorry to put you on the spot. Like, you can
no, it's
literally say.
okay. The answer is not really over the last year. I was actually in Orange Theory last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed it. They're tough classes. It was hard. I did hot yoga on Sunday.
Nice.
I was actually in a good groove of swimming. But it's now gotten
Ooh.
too cold, so it's gotten a little cold for swimming. So haven't been doing that as much.
Nah, the swimming is a good exercise. I wish like I didn't care about my hair too much to swim often. Um, but like it's not like I don't like swimming, and it's not like I don't know how to swim either. But like when you have natural hair and you get in chlorine, it takes me 2 hours to wash my hair. So and then to like and in the state that it's in now, like this is a little like frizzy ish because again I went to the gym today, and it's like it takes like 2 days for my hair to dry when I try to style it. So it's like having to do all of that because I wanted to hop in the pool for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's like it gotta be a special occasion. Not even gonna cap it, but I still love it. I still like to go swimming. I wish I could swim more. Oh,
I'm
I'm
back
back
now.
now.
I think I hear you.
Okay, all right.
We are
Sorry, so I
back,
dropped
y'all.
the.
See, it just takes a
Oh,
little bit of finessing, a little bit of here and there.
can you hear me? Okay.
I can.
Okay, perfect.
All right, y'all. So, thank you for listening to us talk about random stuff right there.
Okay.
Um, you know, again, this isn't like, and I hope that everyone understands this. And I think I said this in the last few episodes too. This show is literally just community people talking with each other. This is supposed to be like I want this to be something that everyone can come as authentically as they can, talking about what they feel. This is not something super polished. This is not something that like needs to be like a CNN news production. These are just folks talking. Like it's really chill, and I think
Real
folks
life
really like that.
conversations are raggedy sometimes.
Exactly. And I think people really like that. And I love the feedback that I've been getting so far with this show. So thank y'all. And this is a nice time for me to plug. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel and follow us on Facebook at Something's Gotta
You heard her. Like and subscribe.
Give. Okay, so we're back. We stopped on the next form or the next dot, and I think some of these I'm going to like run through a little quick so we can get to like the real like juicy part of this conversation, which is about the Democratic Party holding our elected officials accountable and what we can do from here. So the next one was about like supporting boys academies and after school programs, and I think that goes into what we kind of was already talking about like, you know, it can't hurt giving people something to do, so they're not, you know, getting in trouble. I think is a great thing. Again,
Gotta
I
have it.
yeah.
That's how normal lives that's how the lives of people who don't commit gun violence work, and so that's how
Exactly.
everybody's life should work.
I was literally just about to say, and you know, I was just saying how I was at the gym today, and the guy was like, "Oh, you was here for a long time," and I was like, "Yeah, you know,
Mhm.
trying to get the work in or whatever," and he was like, "Yeah, you know, it's better being here, you know, at the gym instead of like laying down at home, like eating Cheetos," and I didn't know how to take that because first of all, I hate Cheetos. But second off, I was like, do we look like I eat Cheetos? But third off, but third off, it's like, no, but for real, like, if I'm not at the gym, I'm probably laying at home, probably snacking on fruit snacks or, like, you know, eating random stuff. But instead, you know, I'm at the gym, like, working out, not eating crap. So,
Putting in work.
yeah.
A
So,
healthy a sound mind and a healthy body goes a long way.
yes, all about that serenity, all about that peaceful tranquility, that balance. That's me. Something's got to give, baby. Okay, so which okay, so this next one is so funny because literally a couple of ones above it said we are banning this, but bring concerts, mini fairs, food and clothing drives in at-risk neighborhoods on a consistent basis, replicate Frenchtown Rising. You
Hmm.
literally just said you want to ban mass gatherings. But I like that they added this in here. Another caveat, and please stop me if I'm talking too much, but another caveat
For
I wanted
sure.
to make was a couple weeks ago, I went to a random backyard concert for this band. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna hate myself if I don't get the band name right. Um, Hang on.
I'm curious.
I'm gonna look it up, y'all. I'm gonna look it up because I'm gonna shout it out because honestly, that was the best thing I've ever. Soul Candy Band. Make sure y'all follow them at Soul Candy Band underscore on Instagram. But it was just like, you know, some they, you know, like 20 somethings in their backyard with their drums, with their guitar, with their keyboards, with lights strung around, and you know they have people come back there to like listen to them play. From my understanding, I never heard of them before this night. From my understanding is that they originally like used to play sometimes at Fire Betty's. I think Fire Betty's has like certain nights where they like have live bands or something like that. Um, and they got like a following from playing at Fire Betty's, and so they were like they wanted to try having their own thing. And I heard about it from a friend, and it was honestly amazing. And I was like, wow, like these little things, like it was so chill. Like folks was just back there chilling with listening to music. Like I, I, I don't
It's
know.
the
I
best.
don't know if that could be replicated anywhere else, but in small little Tallahassee, like I think that was unique. I don't know. I'm probably just like biased, but
No, I mean a community that has those kinds of things is absolutely healthier, and it's really, I'm really there's a lot to be pessimistic about, and we definitely face some challenges. But here locally, I mean, we have a great community. People in Leon County, people in Tallahassee are really cool, interesting people, I find by and large. Like, it's my favorite place I've ever knocked on doors, for instance. I've knocked on a ton of doors.
mm-hmm.
And Tallahassee, warm people, people that care about each other, people that care about a certain um, neighborhood communion spirit, and they care about the public sector. And I think that the government, the public sector, is one way that people really do kind of shepherd each other's interests and take care of each other. I think people, there's a lot of people that are involved in FAMU and Florida State and the staff and faculty and all that. It tends to be cool, interesting, open-minded people. And I think that people hanging out in the backyard watching some Soul Candy is um, just about the right speed for the Tallahassee that I want to see.
Like that was the Tallahasseest thing I've probably ever done. So like that was really
There's
cool.
also some neat stuff like that. I love it here.
Yeah, like people don't understand when I say that I actually really do love Tallahassee. Like
Me
I
too.
used to be in Orlando and they'd be like, where you from? And I'd be like 850 all day. And they're like, really? You're repping Tallahassee? And I'm like, I sure am. Like
Hell
don't get it
yes.
twisted. But I think Tallahassee is so cool and I think it just has so much potential. And it just takes people, not being scared, not falling into the same traps that we've been doing for decades. It's just embracing the future and embracing new things and embracing new people. And Tallahassee again can keep that uniqueness and tight knit community like that. Like that was really cool. Shout out to them. Soul
100%.
Candy Band underscore on Instagram. Okay. All right, we're at our last couple, and then we're gonna go into the DEC stuff. So, again, it was another one about a boys' academy, blah blah blah. About another like encouraging faith-based community leaders to do patrols, and expand, meetings like city meetings, county meetings, school meetings to like bringing those. I guess I don't know what they mean by expand. Maybe like bringing it to these communities. That's what it says. I guess maybe like having a city meeting at how you guys I guess did like the budget meeting in the summer
We
at
have had meetings. We have had meetings other places. I think that's cool. I
mhm
mean, I don't know if that's just me. I think it's cool. I think it's good. I think that sometimes City Hall can seem like an ivory tower that's far flung. On the other hand, I think there's something to be said for having a routine and letting people know that it's always there. But at the same time, I mean, I think it's probably a good idea to get out there more. You've got to. I
mhm
mean, one thing that I've always said, sometimes political class people get to sneering at regular people that don't know about all the jargon and all the stuff about government, public policy, and politics stuff, the granular stuff about that, the technical stuff. And I swear, I've told many people, you've got to love the people to serve the people.
mhm
Ultimately, expertise in politics is just perfectly approximating the interest of a big majority of people. That there's no class you can take for that.
exactly
And so I'm all about it. I think honestly, I think that people take sort of patronizing point of view when they go towards voter contact, but I learn things all the time. When I'm text banking, when I'm calling people on the phone, when I'm knocking on doors, I learn tons of stuff that I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known to go search it out, and nobody that I know would either. And I really think, in no way is that, a feel good thing for me or anything like that. I think that the highest form of communication is two people talking about civic affairs out in public somewhere or at the doors. I think that's really important.
yes. And I also agree like having those meetings and again meeting people where they are is I think like step one of just being a public servant.
Hmm.
So I think that's really cool. If they're consistent with it. But also, maybe think about having the meetings maybe slightly later. Maybe having a 2 o'clock in the afternoon meeting might not be too accessible, but that's neither here nor there.
Hmm.
I won't go
I
into it.
hear
We
that.
talked about it last show. If you want to hear more about it, Shelby and I went in on that last show. Y'all
Okay.
can listen.
Yeah, I know. I know that in the day there used to be meetings. I've been at Blueprint meetings that went well past midnight,
Mm,
and so it's all about that balance. But yeah, I mean, making the meetings as accessible as possible is something that obviously we need to do. Again, sounds cheesy. Totally, what I actually feel in my own heart of hearts. More people in the process
mm-hmm.
always leads to better outcomes.
Period.
I know that for a fact because I've seen good outcomes and bad outcomes happen, and I've seen how they were cooked up or how they're deliberately developed in public. And I just know that is always a better way to do it. And it's not, you can't microwave it. There's no shortcut to it. And of course, you're never going to have everybody perfectly coalesce around one perfect finite thing that everyone unanimously agrees about. But you'd be surprised how far if you go into it open minded instead of reverse engineering public engagement to get back to a predetermined outcome, which I've seen happen many times in our local government.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're open minded and you kind of lead and you have, you'll find a consensus. You'll find a consensus if you go out there. And I believe so strongly in bottom up processes.
Yes, 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 100%. And finally, our last one, establishing a working partnership and collaboration with faith-based groups, in particular, and the sheriff's status of black men and boys. Um, I think the commission of the status of men and boys is, pretty cool. That, that's something that the city has invested in. I'm excited to see where that goes. Um, Again, I think my problem with like starting these programs is that they always feel super underfunded, and I think it's kind of like shooting the like shooting the program in its foot, or like failing it before it starts. It's like, they're expecting all of these like these grandiose, like, you know like, oh, I heard that they were like, oh, in a year we want you to reduce crime by 50%. And it's like, dang, y'all gave them $1 million. What do you really expect them to do? And that's so like crazy to me to like tell someone basically like your job is on like hangs on the balance by you solving a institutional problem that has been around for decades in a year.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
so like having those sort of like expectations, I think, again, just shoots the program in the foot before it starts. So I hope they, I heard that they like took back some of those statements or whatever, but I hope that, again, down the line with some of these programs, again, maybe even like the police club or whatever, that they're not expecting like a complete like 180 in a couple months. It's like this again, this, because it feels like it's like, oh, once it starts, we could take the money away, we could put it somewhere else, and we won't have to like, do this anymore because we solved the problem. It's like, no, like it again, it takes consistency, it takes that discipline of like continuing to do it, continuing to invest in it. So years down the line, this is something that is just like muscle memory. This is just something that's part of the fabric of Tallahassee.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, so I think this neatly like puts us into talking about the DEC and just the Democratic Party. And I think how I want to transition this real quick is again saying that we are now post midterm election. Everyone is here, the people have spoken. The votes are cast. These are the folks that we have. Um, the city had their reorganizational meeting last week. Cute program to see, on YouTube, in Atlanta last week. I think,
Good for you for keeping up.
yeah, I sort of, like skipped through it a little bit afterwards the next day. But I wanted to hear, I guess, like the commissioners just like, I guess, like speech that they want to give on how they're going to start off their next like legislative time. So I mean, you were there. I'm certainly assuming. So I think I definitely saw you in the crowd in the video. But
I was there. I think
yeah.
I accidentally got myself in the picture a little bit there, but I was so excited to celebrate Commissioner Matlow's re-swearing
Yeah.
that I had to do it to him. Had to sit up front.
Yeah, so I guess like, from I guess like the office of Commissioner Jeremy Matlow, or Matlow. I've been told that I need to stop calling him Matlow and say Matlow.
It's Matlow, but you can call him whatever you
I
want.
know it's Matlow, but like I don't know. I think it's the country, the southern. It don't happen. I try. I
Hey,
fix myself.
whatever works.
But I guess from working in his office, like I guess just tell us like, maybe what the commissioner is thinking about doing this upcoming like legislative season. If that is something that you could share, just like, I guess like any like where is the like mindset of the city commission, and again, I guess specifically for Commissioner Matt Lowe, after his awesome win this election cycle, and blah blah blah.
Well, um, Wouldn't be myself if I didn't say that I'm very, very proud of Commissioner Matt Lowe on his reelection. He is the finest public servant that I've ever worked closely with, and I'm not just saying that. He knows that. I feel that way. He's a dear friend. He's a mentor in some regards. He's a great boss. He's a generous person. He's really cool, and he's one of the only political figures or polls of any kind that I've worked around that has really never disappointed me. I'll tell you, I'm learning a little bit about it through this process of how of the slings and arrows of when you put your name on a ballot line and how um, people act. And I've just never. He's just such a G. He just can, it's really hard to walk into those rooms under adversarial circumstances and speak the truth and advance the public interest. And so, very, very proud of Commissioner Matt Lowe and his, frankly, crushing 12-point victory over David Bellamy. David Bellamy
Mm-hmm.
broke every record for city commission races, raised literally more than $500,000 when all told. There's a lot of dark money involved, so it's hard to exactly quantify it, but it's at least $500,000 of rich people's money, Republican-oriented, Chamber of Commerce-oriented money, and they lost very, very badly, and that's a very, very good thing for our community. And I'm very proud of Commissioner Matlow. Going forward, he probably would like to keep on working on the same things that we've always been working on, and I think that there's more public support for it than ever. Reforming at Blueprint. Well, we're reforming Blueprint. We have a broken system there. We have a some serious problems, a lot of public controversy over multiple things that the agency isn't doing right. And it's nearly $1 billion agency. Needs to be reformed. We don't need backroom deals being made in secret and then ratified in public with our taxpayer money, our sales tax dollars. That's one thing that we've always done. I think probably making some changes to priorities there. It's from projects that are vanity giveaways to big special interests back to projects that are going to serve the public. So that'll be one thing to watch. I think that we've seen an establishment and, frankly, an extreme push from certain elite elements in our community to try to divide our city into districts. We'll be fighting that tooth and nail. Our community does not need to be divided neighborhood against neighborhood. It is a crass power grab, and we'll be fighting that every step of the way. And I think that's a fight that we'll win. Affordable housing, absolutely first and foremost. Um, the zone people don't get. People say people want to put affordable housing on one line item and say, "Oh, we give this much to affordable housing."
Mm-hmm.
Making a market and a housing environment where people can afford to live involves every single aspect of zoning, land use, and other public investment decisions that local governments make. So, um, stopping some of the wasteful spending that we've seen on areas on projects that aren't there to primarily benefit the public in general, and making investments that work in the areas that we need it the most. Tharp Street and Orange Avenue, in particular, which have continued to fall down the list of priorities as
Mm-hmm.
um, less meritorious projects, frankly, have
That's
taken it
my
over.
side of
And
town,
they've
by the
been,
way.
what's that?
That's my side of town, by the way.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I mean it's an incredibly well traveled. We're building an $80+ million, what I'll frankly call a road to nowhere, to service basically development in an uninhabited area that used to be plantation land, rural, very far from closer to Georgia than it is to City Hall. And Meanwhile, they skip to the front of the line on a lot of public investments. Meanwhile, the urban core and even northeastern um, in neighborhoods that have been paying taxes for decades are getting skipped over. It's not right. It's not fair. We'll do everything that we can to kind of bring our priorities back into balance and just make common sense decisions instead of politically motivated decisions for the interest of a small, politically influential group, which has really dominated local government in Tallahassee for years and years. But I will say this: they have less power than they've ever had, um, and it's because the people of Tallahassee are getting wise to that. So that's broadly speaking some of our initiatives. I don't want to speak for him too much specifically, but those are all things that are going to be very much on our radar. And it's local government and legislative session. One thing we know, I was kind of thinking, you never know what's going to come down the pike because it's local government. It's always fluid. It's always changing. There's new permits and new projects being proposed all the time. But one thing I know that we'll be looking at is very extreme threats to local control and to the authority of local governments coming from our right wing extreme state government. Obviously, we have two-thirds supermajorities of Republicans in the state Senate and the state House, and a rather right wing governor who has been given 4 more years with a very broad mandate. You saw he won his election by nearly 20 points. So they are going to be threatening to curtail the authority of local governments even more. We're very against that. We'll be working on that actively. They're going to probably propose extreme limits on a woman's right to choose. We'll be working on that. We'll be vocal. We'll be loud and proud. Who knows what other crazy cooked up schemes? Threats to the LGBTQ community very likely to occur as well next session. More attacks on state workers, more attacks on public school teachers, more attacks on our public school infrastructure, more letting polluters off the hook, more letting developers um, uh, overdevelop in urban sprawl patterns along threatened wetlands that we frankly cannot afford to impair the waterways around there. So those are all things that it's the same as it's ever been in our view. We're proud. We improved our position, I think, this year. I'm very proud of Commissioner Matlow and the way that he's comported himself in the face of like really extreme, desperate, crazy, personal, sleazy attacks
Mm-hmm.
paid by for but some rich people in this community that have an extreme agenda. Glad to have set that back. Glad to be kind of working to kind of bring some life and vitality back to the DEC because I think that is kind of a place where where it can work well. I think the DEC can be a happening place coming up in the next 2 years. Everyone got the shit kicked out of them in 2022 across the state. That's no question, and they made gains here too. A state senate seat. It's crazy to see a state senate seat that's red that goes through Leon County.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was because of all things that could be fixed. That depressed Democratic turnout, lack of a message that gets people excited to go to the polls, and lack of organizing, blocking and tackling, getting people out there and energizing them. And those are things that I plan to bring to the DECS chair.
Yeah, I was just
Um,
about to say you cut right to the chase at the end. Just to real quick, I guess like talk about just a real quick thing about what we keep saying about DEC. The DEC is LCDEC, Leon County Democratic Executive Committee. It's just like
mhm,
a local arm of the Democratic Party of the state of the Florida Democratic Party again, which
mhm,
is an arm of the National Democratic Party.
yeah,
And the this organization has a lot should have a lot of influence on engaging community members to know what's going on, to go out and vote, to again and then later continuing that sort of organizing and community engagement even outside of election years. And again, as you mentioned, that 2022 in Florida, despite other states across the country, um, we won the Senate. We made some gains in state houses across the country, and it's like in Florida, it's literally people keep saying like Florida's dead now, and I hate when people say that. It's just we haven't been
I think so.
engaged. People have not been aren't being reached out to, and again, those who are being reached out to, they reach out to them August, like August before election day or September, October before election day, and it's like, oh, make sure you go vote that in a week or two, and it's like
Mhm.
it's like you can't expect people to do that. Like they haven't seen you all year.
Messaging and engaging year round is obviously completely it's so critical.
Yes, and the DEC is supposed to be the arm that is especially supposed to be the arm because there are other organizations who again go out and engage voters. However, those organizations have a tough time trying to engage voters to hopefully vote Democratic because the Democratic Party, it feels like it's so weak. And Ryan went into the fact that he is running for the Leon County Democratic Executive Committee chair. And he listed some ideas that he, wants to bring to the chair as chair. I announced recently that I would like to run for the vice chair. And again, I made that decision because I think from my experience of organizing and, you know, again, from organizing to working with nonprofits in candidate training and, you know, again, seeing all of these, like, I think the Nevada Democratic Party, I think is like pretty cool. Like they were able to, I mean, I guess like more progressive people were able to feel like they were able to take over the party there, and they've made a lot of great gains in their state legislature. Just and I just know that from my experience doing that work. So it's just like, and the way they did it, engaging every community that they could, engaging the Asian American community, engaging the Black community, engaging their all their other immigrant communities, and it's like being intentional about it. It's like we were this naming it by name. We are going to do this for the blank blank community, and
Mhm.
being real about it, and not doing it just in an election year. This is something that is a couple years in the making, and it's a I don't know why like Florida has such a problem, Ryan.
Lots of reasons. I've talked about this a lot of times in a lot of places, but yeah, I mean it's a problem with a lot of faces. I don't know how you even grab it to start to begin with, but um, top of the ticket was very weak. I mean, first of all, there's a lack of infrastructure. Republicans have a very disciplined approach at the George Bush building on Jefferson downtown, where they have people that it's their job to elect the most Republicans possible all year round.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of fit in the candidates to build around an apparatus. Um, the Democrats seem to reinvent the wheel completely new every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
There is a problem of a thin layer of a sort of cartel style of a small group of consultants really make a lot of decisions about where resources are committed. They tend to make self-interested decisions that aren't that don't take the benefit of the greater good into common. That's something that Republicans do. They share data. They kind of coordinate and break up who's going to go where and what's appropriate for what area. Democrats don't do that, partly because of a lack of strong leadership. Um, uh, any number of things. The messaging. I mean, I've never seen a campaign Charlie Crist versus Val Demings. It's hard to say whose campaign was more listless because you had two different versions of bad.
Mm-hmm.
With Val Demings, you had enough money to compete. I mean, she raised a lot of money,
She sure did.
and um, I think that there are issues there with just missing the mark. It seemed like national style DNC talking point of the day, totally divorced from local concerns that the people that elected her in her congressional district care about. It just seemed very much like MSNBC talking points.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to get people excited.
I mean,
Um,
Maxwell Frost won in that area, and it's like, look at what he was talking about. Like,
sure did, didn't you?
why were you not like following the blueprint here?
Honestly, major shout out to Congressman Maxwell Frost. You're right. He took on what he did was really difficult. I mean, he had a crazy bonkers number of small dollar donations, and like it was crazy, like more than you think. Like whatever that number is, it's probably double. It's insane. And then he talked about the issues that matter, climate change. We all see it. It's the weather in Florida, and you can literally, since I was a kid, probably since you were too, you can see that the weather's different. It's crazy. We need to rain. We need to start
We're
building
watching
resiliency.
Florida homes literally wash out into sea during hurricanes, so it's like,
Yeah,
okay, let's be for real.
yeah. And he was out there. He was loud and proud. He deserves a lot of credit. And it shows that it can be done. He also beat, I think, at least two former members of Congress that were running for
Mm-hmm.
that seat. Corinne Brown and Alan Grayson were
Mm-hmm.
both big, heavy hitters and were big threats to him
And
getting a
the current
plurality
and the
vote.
current holder of like a legislator, what was Randolph Bracy too, was in
Yeah,
that race. Yeah.
Randolph Bracey. He was a big deal in that area too. So,
Mm-hmm.
hey, many shouts to Congressman Maxwell Frost. He did a really good job, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful about how that comes. But yeah, I mean, and so you have a well-funded campaign that was almost too traditional, too old style, and too oriented towards an imaginary center, in my view. And then you've got the Charlie Crist campaign. Just different struggles. I mean, just sort of a listless lack of organization, and you can't blame too much of it on either one. I think that Charlie should have gone on the attack more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that Charlie was afraid to run on his record. He actually had an interesting popular record as a Republican governor. I thought I never minded it. I thought that he was pretty reasonable in a lot of ways, not in every way. I certainly didn't agree with him on everything, but I think he totally abandoned that. He wanted to pretend like that never happened, and now he's just a newborn babe. He was born as a Democrat just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't really strike us. I think that there was perhaps a path for him just being himself, because he is kind of like close. He's like Mr. Florida. He's like the embodiment of Florida.
I
And-
think that definitely, like, I think that's one of the, like, I think personally one of the biggest things wrong with his campaign is like it kind of, from talking to people, it just felt like he was just a little too inauthentic of just like saying, yeah, like people are like accusing you of previously being a Republican, like, yeah, take that and say, yeah, and I changed parties and dot 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 dot.
And
Like,
as a
I changed
Republican, I
like, even as a Republican, the Republicans hated me because I did dot 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 dot. It's like
Mhm.
that's all you had to say, but it's, again, like you said, it was just like he just wanted to pretend like that never happened, that didn't exist.
And again, those are things that'll happen because the character of a campaign, their campaign will take on the character of the person who happens to be at the top of the ticket on the ballot. But if you don't have a year-round base of infrastructure that's growing and building on itself every year, Obama's only going to come around every once in a while, and he came in and built his own thing in, and it was kind of like all oriented towards the incredible star that he was.
Hmm.
But then you see during that period, during the Obama presidency, state legislative seats lost during a bad redistricting. A lot of things were cooking and kind of going wrong for Democrats during those periods, and it wasn't nobody really caught on to it until it hit everybody in the mouth in 2016. And since then, I haven't seen the Democrats really respond with an effort to build out infrastructure, to block and tackle and do the things that need to be done. And that would be my focus on that would be my focus as DEC chair. I know how to do that stuff. I've done it. I was a field organizer for the Obama reelection campaign in 2012. I was a regional field director for Gwen Graham in 2014, where I managed probably a dozen field organizers, and I saw the line go up. We took people that were appropriate to their precincts. We had them break up. Here's how many. Here's our target. Here's how many doors we need. Here's our capacity, our volunteer and paid staff capacity. Let's go knock these doors. And I could see it every single day and every single week, the graph going up. And then look what happened. Gwen Graham won. It was one of two flips in the entire country from red to blue in 2014, a pretty bad midterm cycle. And that's the kind of experience that I'm looking to bring to bear for the DEC. But yes, I mean, there's just a complete lack of infrastructure. Everybody, whether it's DC oriented, people who maybe have chops in some directions but don't really have a feel for the state, like we saw with Valdemi's campaign, the Chris campaign to a degree too, or the other extreme where you have people who are too um, married and too inextricably connected to a sort of patronage of sort of vendor consultant connection that often has financial conflicts that stop Democrats from messaging hard on the issues that people want to hear about. Those are two different ways that Democrats have gone wrong, and I know how to avoid that stuff. And there was a whole lot of it going wrong on Tuesday, the other Tuesday.
Yeah, no, you definitely hit all the points of, again, the lack of infrastructure here, and the fact that what I sort of touched on before was that there are great successes that can come out of this state. We talked about Maxwell Frost. We talked about Gwen Graham. Like, it's like there are so many. Like, I think, again, this sort of, like, I guess more national sort of like thought of like, oh, Florida's over, like it will never be Democratic again, da 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 da. It's like, well, you sort of thought that it'll never be, I guess, Democratic again since 2016. And
Mhm.
we had that small blip of trying, with Andrew Gillum in 2018, but it's like that was like, oh, if we don't win this, it's over, I give up. Like, I already gave up in 2016, but I have like a half a sliver of like something to like give here, even though Andrew Gillum was a, well, we're not gonna talk about it, he was a candidate in itself, but it's like
Yes.
but it's like, you put all your eggs in that one basket, and then when the basket broke, it was like, okay, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to try to salvage any eggs. I'm not gonna try to buy new eggs. I'm not gonna try again. It was just like, forget it, over, pack up your stuff, we're leaving. And but now you're leaving the people. Like, the people who get hurt the most are the people. In this sort of like, it feels like, again, just sort of like the party feels like it's giving up, honestly, to me. And I think that as vice chair, I hope to bring this sort of new, I guess, maybe not even new, but just like, you know, again, new energy. Sure, I'll say it. New energy in it, especially locally. I think locally the party definitely needs new energy. And again, like I said earlier in the show, is that nationally, younger voters saved the Democratic Party.
It
And
did.
engaging younger voters in this process is essential to helping the Democratic Party. We already know that they're more inclined to, if they do vote for the Democratic Party. So making sure that they don't stay home. And again, when I was in high school, at Gobby High School, I was sitting here having voter registration drives there. And it was
That's
just
dope.
like, you know, why are we not having teams of young voters or of young people setting up voter registration drives at their school? It's like there's so many things that can be done, that has been done. It's just,
Mhm.
it feels like the infrastructure isn't there to even allow these younger voters to even have that sort of shot. And
I think the DEC would be a great place to house efforts like that. It could be
exactly.
it could be a hub to coordinate them and not reinvent the wheel. When that work is being done, we know it's being done and it actually goes somewhere. I think the DEC, we've seen how evanescent and kind of never talking with each other the campaigns have been. When you got top of the ticket nominees and Democratic candidates every couple of years, they basically become the de facto party. Whoever is with them, whoever is leading the charge there, they're the people who are deciding where resources are committed and how campaigns are shaped in any given area. I think a DEC is ideal, especially in a Democratic bastion like Leon County, to be that sort of hub. I'd like to, I think it might be a good idea to just get an office, to get a physical space for the DEC, where that can become a place where calls for action about legislative stuff are out of, a place where voting registration efforts are out of, a place for grassroots engagement throughout the year on issues, new member orientations, candidate training, member training, getting people together, and then it becomes a GOTV office near the elections. I think that the DEC, whether no matter what level that's on, the DEC I think has to be a house for that. That takes unity, that takes focus, and that takes the experience of knowing what you want to happen there and what it looks like when things are going well. And those are all things that I think that I'll bring to bear as chair. Sorry, I didn't mean to co-opt our conversation for another campaign pitch, but
Oh,
I do, for what it's worth, I do think that I think that stuff's crucial. I like how you identified early the need for a community. I swear it's so cheesy. Everyone says it. It's on car commercials now. Republicans, everybody,
mm-hmm.
corporations talking about community. But real community does make it. It makes all the difference. I mean, I was knocking on doors for Obama from the OFA campaign in 2012, and we had what's called a staging location, which is basically a person who's willing to give their house out, and it becomes a place where people come, they get their Chromebook, they enter their data,
Mm-hmm.
they pick up their lists from Van, they come in, they turn that stuff in. There's one person there that's able to compile it and do all the data entry and everything that needs to be done. There's kind of like, people that are kind of like, that don't want to do that stuff, but they're willing to bring water, bring supplies for people. They're willing to sort of, take care and mentor people. You've got people um, who are not are comfortable, maybe not comfortable knocking on doors, but they can text bank, they can phone bank. That can happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Just the synergy that you get of getting people in the same room that way. And I think that another problem that we've seen with our DEC, if you don't mind if I soapbox just a little while longer,
Go ahead,
is
baby.
the acrimony, the, the acrimony back and forth between factions and camps. I think that that's a lot harder to sustain that kind of permanent tension. I've noticed DEC meetings become basically proxy fights over and over and over again, refighting the same originary fight that began in 2020 with this so-called storm the castle, approach to taking over seats, and taking officer positions in the DEC. And so you've got the people who kind of had the power and then they've given it back by attrition and numbers wise, and you've got people who feel there's a lot of resentment over those decisions that were made back then. Look, that all happened. Election when the elections are over, you got to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to focus. There's real shit that's happening, real extreme policies that are flying right over our head, right across the street at the Capitol building on Monroe. And I think I'm going to try to lead by example, in how we all communicate with each other and how we communicate what we communicate about. And I think that being in person, of course, it's important to have accessibility for people who can't make it. And I would make sure that every DEC meeting is also available to be to people that so people can zoom in and all that stuff. But I wouldn't want to prevent the information to go only inside that room. But I think that people aren't going to zone out and get pissy with each other and feel comfortable, being petty and small with one another about things if they're in the same room. I think that's really important, and that's not just a feel good thing. I think that's going to make the organization more effective when it's time to get out people to go vote.
No, you made so many great points about, like, I remember being, a young kid. I mentioned in, my, I guess, like, candidate email or a message out to the
Yeah.
DEC earlier about, like, I got my start in, like, wanting to be in politics and wanting to be an organizer from me watching TV with my dad, seeing Obama's first run in '08. I was in like 5th grade, and my mom bringing me to one of these like hubs that you were talking about in '08 and in 2012, and me being able to like phone bank literally
That's
like
awesome.
8, 9, 10-year-old me, and like in this room with other people, learning from them, saying like them teaching me how to do this, what to do when you get all types of different callers, and explaining to me the importance of doing this and what it means. um and I thought that was like just like so cool, knocking on doors some weekends, again making that a fun thing, again with a group of people, or there might be some families out there, just like groups who are like, okay, I'm about to do this for like an hour or so, and it's just like knocking on as many doors as you can, talk to as many people as you can. But at the end of the day, it was just like a group. It's just a community group. It was just people would bring food or whatever, or say, hey, we're about to go out to da 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 after this. Y'all want to come? Blah blah blah. It's like, you know, it it's just so again, like I think locally and probably a little bit statewide, is just like I think the Democratic Party lost some of that. And
Mm.
there are organizations who have picked up the slack for the party. um and I think moving forward, we definitely have to engage these people. This is the Tallahassee alerts locally. It's the
Huge shout out to Tallahassee
huge
Alerts.
shout out to huge shout out to Bruce
Really
Noble, bro.
excellent. Mitaki, Bruce, everybody there. I
Yes.
mean, Joy Lamar, y'all. I mean, that was you. I mean, some of those were some of the best debates of the cycle. No, no question.
Yes.
They
No.
really did. They really did it as a service to everybody. And there was a lot of stuff and a lot of positions that were staked out that nobody other would have known about otherwise. And I just thought that was like really great.
No, it like it those debates from from the primary on up all the way through to the end, like and the sort of like interview style that we had at the end too. It was a like, and again, it being meeting people where they are. It shout out to Wesley Chapel too, that allowing us to have it there. But this is what I feel like the party is supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be collaborating with these democratic organizations who are doing the education, doing the outreach, and putting more structure to it, putting more oomph behind it. It's like
Mhm.
uh, when I joined the DEC, I was sort of a little taken aback that it sort of felt a little siloed, a little isolated. Like they were talking about doing debates. Well, the DEC does have debates and stuff, but again, it was sort of
And
like,
some of to be fair, some of them are good. I think the reach could have been better, but I think that some of them are really useful. I want to say that.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. They are really useful, and at the same time, though, it sort of felt like a little isolated with just like like the few members of the DEC that are
Mm.
seeing it. I mean, to my in my opinion, um, and again, I think being more collaborative and possibly reaching out to a Tallahassee alert and being again putting that behind other instances of these sort of events. It's like again, I think it's just building that community. It's making sure that they know, hey, we're here to help you, and or well, not even help you, but we're here to support you, and we're here to be that sort of that. I don't know, is the word catalyst, but it just to sort of
Sure.
be, yeah, it would just sort of just be that like beacon, that hub of uh community development and evolvement for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
um we are like you in going into what you said too about like the storm. I don't even know what the operation was called, honestly. The storm, the storm front thing in 2020, like with the DEC. It's like
Mm.
it happened, it's over, and at this point, the only people who lose out with this sort of like aggravation from both sides is the community, are the people.
One
we
thousand
we
percent.
we want, like, if we could have gotten 4, 5, 6 or so thousand more people out to vote this cycle, we wouldn't have a Corey Simon. It's just like um it's very disappointing when again, working with other organizations too, watching them frustrated with the fact that it feels like the Democratic Party, it feels like it's being hurtful to their movement because of maybe the top of, like you said, the top of the ticket. Who's there? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the issues that the people care about? You're walking up to someone and asking, like, as an organizer, you're walking up to someone and saying, hey, I want you to vote for this Democrat, and they're like, the Democratic Party, like, literally, the Democratic Party doesn't show up for me. The Democratic Party doesn't talk about what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So as a person who doesn't follow, from their perspective, as a person who doesn't really follow politics that much, they're not they're maybe they're not at every city commission meeting, maybe they don't know every single thing that a candidate does, but it's like, I don't think that's their fault. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the party's, like, that's the party's fault. That's the candidate's fault. It's
No,
like,
it's our
you need to get,
responsibility. It's the Democratic Party.
yeah.
I feel so. There's been issues about some other failings on one side of the party, but on the other hand, I think that there's an entitlement to people's votes that I hear sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it is up to us to entice people to come vote for us, and we should do it. Offer them something that materially improves their lives. Make it easy for them to see a contrast between the Democrat and their opponent, and go contact them.
Mm-hmm.
Text them, go visit them, say, hey, do you have a plan to vote? And make sure to bug them until they vote. It's a simple formula. It's the only thing that I've consistently seen work in every single jurisdiction, in every single kind of district of every makeup, including areas like ours. And we need to be doing it. And, I would not be myself if I didn't say, and under my leadership, we will.
Yes, Ryan is always the one that's like, hey, like, I'm gonna tell you what it is, and you can listen to me. You can either win or you can stay where you at. Yeah, you can listen to me. I say some things. You can either take it if you leave it. But if
Hey,
you
I know,
leave it,
I know
leave
business.
it.
If hey, business as usual hasn't been getting it done, I think that we all know that.
Yes, yes. And and again, like I mentioned before in other videos too, that I don't know, right now, I know that this sort of time sort of feels trying. I know for me, again, being a black woman, seeing what's happening in the state legislature, it's like it is demoralizing. It's not even trying to like cut and be cut and dry about it, or It's like, whatever, like we'll get there. Like
It's traumatic. It's
it's
painful.
very traumatic. It's very traumatic to listen to people who have so much power over your everyday life tell you that we don't want to talk about racism, we don't want to talk about sexism, we don't want to talk about, or we don't believe, well, not even like we don't want to talk about, we literally just don't believe that that is a thing. Like, and it's like, I live that every day. Like, how are you telling me that doesn't exist if I'm literally looking at it every day? And to the point where now we're, trying to stop kids from learning about it, trying to, saying that you can't even talk, have like better diversity trainings and stuff or whatever at work, or, taking away a woman's right to choose what she wants to do with her body, how she wants to live her future, and, sort of just putting everyone in a sort of very, I'll just say, restrictive way of life. And for people who don't follow politics, that is such a turnoff. It's like, there's so much already going on in my life, and you want me to have to like come to this meeting, come do this, come do that. And then even if I do try to come out to those things, like, is that really going to do anything? Because we still have these people in office. We still have Ron DeSantis. We still have all of these Republicans, and now even more Republicans in the legislature. And so it's like, are we ever going to get rid of them? From their perspective, are we ever going to get rid of them? Are we ever going to do anything? And honestly, I have too much going on in my life. I'm trying to put food on my table. I'm trying to make sure I have work, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, are we going to talk to these folks and say, yes, we have a plan. This is the plan. This is how we're going to execute it. This is how we're going to keep being consistent about it. This is what's going to happen next. This is what happens if this happens. It's like really breaking it down, and, breaking it down so far where it's like, it doesn't feel like it's an extra burden on them to have to pay attention to this stuff sometimes.
Mm. People like paying attention if you give them something worth considering.
Exactly. And I think I experienced that a lot with my just personal friend group. Is like, I'm the only person in my friend group that like follows politics at all. They always ask me like, what's going on? And it's just like, girl, you remember that one time when, just like literally breaking it down so far where, maybe it sounds like a reality TV show or something. And it's like, okay, all I got to do is, go on here and, recruiting people to join the DEC and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. If you join, this is what we're looking for. And they're like, okay, like, it doesn't feel like too much. It doesn't sound like too much. Hey, can you go out? Like, we're, for folks in Georgia, for the runoff, a lot of conversations about like having the feeling of having to go out and vote for someone again after you literally just went out and voted a couple weeks ago. It's like, hey, like, we're going to all meet here, and we're going to all drive to the polls together, or have this thing together. It's like, again, making it to where being a part of the process is so easy, where it's just like, it only feels like a short amount of time that they have to give. And I think all of that is just what we're missing. We're missing that sort of, that conversation with people. I think a lot of times for people who follow politics, we kind of get that sort of like politics mind, and it's like, we're not really thinking about what it means to be asking people what it means to like, what we're actually asking them to do by going and voting. It's like, yes, I need to find a babysitter. I don't have a way to get there. It's, I can't take off of work, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, again,
it's a major factor. It's a major obstacle. That's a real thing.
Mm-hmm. It is a major obstacle. And we're telling these people, like, I need you to do all of these things. But at the end of the day, you're not like, okay, you want me to do all of this? What are you going to do for me? Like, and that is just baseline what the Florida Democratic Party is missing. I think other states Democratic parties have it a little figured out. But I think the Florida Democratic Party just the moment somebody says, "What are you gonna do for me?" It's silence. It's like, well, we're gonna make sure that the 2/3 majority state legislature doesn't take away your right to choose. There's only a
Hmm.
couple people. I mean, are you really gonna beat them? You know, it's it feels like such a large hill, and again, in somebody's head that doesn't follow politics, it sounds like such a large hill that besides that, what else can we do? Like, are we going to fight for higher minimum, or a higher minimum wage? Are we going to fight for you know I guess like the tabletop issues that I guess they call it? It's like, where's that? Can you tell me that? And then I will feel more motivated to want to go and do this, because it sort of sounds like this other stuff, especially for Black people, is like these folks are going to be racist regardless. So it's like, you can say that you're going to stop all of this like racist stuff, but you know folks are going to be racist. I want to hear how you're going to help like my everyday life, because that's what I'm focused on as someone that doesn't follow politics. That's what I'm focused on. But I think I just went on a long rant there
No,
too.
I basically, I tend to agree, and the only thing that I believe, I'm not immune from the feelings of fetism and fatalism that can visit us sometimes in situations like the ones that we're in Florida. But the only thing I can think to do is to do what I can and make some progress on the piece of land that I'm
Hmm.
in, where I'm at, and build on some of the great successes that we've had locally. There's a lot of potential energy in Leon County for
Yes.
good elections outcomes. There
Yes.
is. We have underperformed this past cycle. In 2024, I know we're going to do better,
I believe it.
and
And
I think that's something that I'm a worrier. I have anxiety sometimes, like everybody does, just in the world, about what's going to happen. I mean, I'm talking about, not in a medical sense or whatever, but like in a sense of, oh my God, Donald Trump is literally the president right now. I mean, we all have
yeah.
those thoughts at that point, and at times, and I get that. But I think that what always makes me feel better is doing something about it.
Yep. And I was just
And
about to say, like, I think I'm hopeful, because I know for me, when I feel that sort of, like you said, anxiety, or I guess existential crisis of like, what are we gonna do?
seriously,
What's
yeah,
what's
no, no,
happening right
yeah, no
now?
doubt,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like, okay, well, it's a funny thing that I say to other like folks too, who ask me about politics, when they say like, "Wow, Serenity, it just sounds like so insane what's going on," and it's like, yeah, it is. However, would you rather, lie down and let them like do all of this stuff with no opposition whatsoever and just let them continue doing it, or would you rather like go down swinging? And I choose going down swinging. At least I know in the afterlife, whatever that is, I know that I can say I tried. And
right.
like, it's like I'm when the fascists came, what did I try? And what did I try to do? And that's just it. And I think for 2024 locally, we again have such a great again great potential locally to turn out a lot of people. I think locally folks are just concerned about their everyday lives. And if we talk about their everyday lives, we will see the fruits of our labor come to fruition, and we will have more democratic people in office, and even more better that we have more people involved in our political process.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, right. This was a great conversation. Even with all of our ratchetness in the middle and at the beginning, we made it through. How do
Yeah,
you feel?
I feel great. I'm sorry for my end of that. Although like you made it a raggedy free you made it a raggedy shame free zone. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad about that. And thanks
Mm-hmm.
for bearing with me. I really appreciate it. It was really great visiting with you. I really admire juggling everything that you do, and making time for this. And I think that, like I said, people see paid media and they see the words of people that have a lot of power and wealth in our community, but that can all be counteracted by conversations at the doors and in person, and it's really important to do this. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your keeping up on the issues and telling other people about it. I think that's really valuable. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming. And again, I just want this to continue to get better and better, to have more and more conversations, to get more and more people involved. Um, and I can't do it without folks like you wanting to hop on and on a random Thursday night and talk about it with me. So thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
sure enough. Yes, yes, indeed.
Before you go, tell everyone
Yeah.
where they can follow you at or whatever. What you or what other little like shameless plugs you want to have, and then that'll be it for you.
Okay. Yeah. You can find me on the running for DEC chair on December 12th. I think that the membership is pretty set there, but if you're listening to this and you are going to be an elector in that election, I hope that you'll please consider voting for me. I think that I bring a lot of skills and experience and the right disposition to do what needs to be done there. I love Twitter. Check me out at Ryan Ray FLA on Twitter. And I think that's it. I fool around on Instagram a little bit, but it's not the same handle. I think. I've got a. I like to show. I have a beautiful cat named Dagmar, who I love very much, and she's a baby. This is Dagmar, my cat. Instead of my SoundCloud, here's my cat Dagmar,
Not the
and
SoundCloud.
thank
My
you.
dog just came out because I think she heard you talking about
It's
cats. So
catching on.
the dog had to say, "Whoa, whoa."
See, it's like cats and dogs when people are on Zoom. You know, that's why you gotta get these meetings back in person.
Yes. So have a good night, Ryan, and
You too,
I
Serenity.
look forward to this DEC meeting, and hopefully we have you and I as chair and vice chair.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you again.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Good night. Bye.
All right, y'all. It is. It is. It is now 9:19 p.m. We have been live for almost 2 hours, but I'm so glad that you all stuck around with me to hear this conversation with Ryan. Um, I will definitely like repurpose a lot of these clips on our Instagram. That is Something's Gotta Give Pod. Also on the Facebook page. Um, I know that we lost some viewers because of my messiness at the beginning, but um, if you stuck around with me this long, thank you so much, and I look forward to coming with y'all again soon with another episode. And you guys have a wonderful, blessed, amazing night, and I will see you next time. Say bye, Sasha.